Hi everyone. So we have been doing ecology for all of these videos, and today we will be starting with biodiversity. Now, as the term suggests, bio means life and diversity means variety. So biodiversity broadly means the variety of life available on earth. Now, what do I mean by variety of life? It could mean the variety of genetic information that we have, the variety of species, the variety of habitats, all of them together will contribute to our biodiversity. Now, biodiversity has three levels or components in which we understand it better. The first component is genetic diversity. Genetic diversity basically refers to the genetic variation that is present within a species and the variations that are present in between species. So, for example, India has rice, right? Our rice has over 1500 different genetic variations. So there are 1500 different kinds of rice genetically possible, and therefore that makes the biodiversity of rice, genetic biodiversity of rice, very, very high. The basic rule of thumb is that the more a population or an individual of a species is allowed to randomly mate. So in plants, the more hybridizations would occur, cross pollinations. In animals, the more there is random mating, the total amount of genetic diversity increases. And as genetic diversity increases, it's very easy to understand in humans. In humans, we have the HLA gene, right, which gives us our major histocompatibility complexes, MHCs. This is our self non-self identification, and as well as it's a huge part of our immunity. The more varied HLA becomes, the amount of immunity or the basic strength of immunity over the generations keep increasing, right? Because there are more and more variations getting incorporated within that gene, and therefore making your system more capable of handling diverse kinds of pathogens and organisms. So therefore, by the rule of thumb, the higher the genetic diversity for any given species, the more will it evolutionary advantage be. So the more it is genetically diverse, the more will be its efficiency to adapt, and therefore genetic diversity, a high genetic diversity, will also contribute to speciation or formation of new species. We will discuss this in way further detail when we discuss evolution, right? Moving on, we have species diversity. Now, species diversity has two subcomponents. One is species richness. So, species richness means the number of species that lives within a unit area. Okay. So, for example, if I talk about this building right now, the TCC building, the species population or species richness is 1, right? Because there is only humans in it. Correct? Now, if there were humans, dogs, mosquitoes, all of that apparent, I'm talking about within the visible range, right? Not the microscopic organisms, obviously. Then the species richness would have varied to 3. So, the more the number of species within a population, the higher the species richness. Species evenness means the number of each individual species present. So, for example, if this building right now has 2 humans, 2 dogs and 2 mosquitoes, then it is an even population distribution, 2 of each species, and you have species richness, which is unrelated. All organisms are unrelated, right? So, species richness can be either of related species or unrelated species. Now it's very clear to understand कि जितने unrelated species होंगे उतना उस region का richness ज़्यादा है. If one person can only sing classical songs, versus a person who can sing rock, pop, blues and classical all together. Obviously, the one who can sing 4 type of genres is more versatile. Similarly, एक region में अगर एक ही type का animal रहते हैं versus एक similar area में 10 type के animals रहते हैं, वहाँ का species richness ज़्यादा. तो अगर unrelated ज़्यादा है, species richness भी ज़्यादा होती है. Okay? Similarly, number of individuals of different species called species evenness, right? So now, let's say within a space where unrelated species are present or related species are present, if there are 10 different species living, one of each, then it becomes an even distribution. But if 10 different species are living where one of those species have 10 individuals or the rest have 1, then it is an uneven distribution. Now, if there is an uneven distribution, obviously that particular ecosystem or that particular region will not be stable, right? There will not be stability, because अगर एक region में ants, snakes और rats रहते हैं और वहाँ पे snakes सबसे ज़्यादा है, तो सारे rats को वो खा जाएंगे, है ना? And then as a result the ants will have a lot of dead matter to feed on, because of which the rats will increase. The snakes will eventually not get any food and they will die off. So again, जितना even distribution होगा, उतना species diversity will be better, because the ecosystem will get more and more stable, right? So then these two, species richness and species evenness, together will contribute to species diversity. So a very good example is, if I take a sample area, let's say 1, 2 and 3 sample areas. In the first sample area there are 3 species of birds, A, B and C, all birds. Okay, so even though they belong to different species, they are of the same group of animals, they are all AVs, similar animals, and the distribution is 4, 1, 1. So it's a related, uneven kind of distribution, right? As compared to sample area 2, where you still have a related kind of distribution because they're all birds, but it's an even distribution. In that case, from what we have understood is that this will have higher species diversity, right? Now let's look at sample area 3. Here you have 3 species of organisms, birds, mammals and insects, completely different, so it's unrelated. And then you have an even distribution. Then they will have this region will have the highest species diversity, right? These kind of questions, example based questions, can come in boards as well as NEET. So it's important you understand the difference between these two and how they contribute to species richness, okay, species diversity. Now, there are a few significances. One is stability, which we discussed, right? So the more diverse a particular ecosystem is per species, the better the food web establishment will be, and therefore more and more stable the population or the ecosystem is going to become. The ecosystem is also going to be more productive because the flow of energy will be better. There is another concept, which is the Rivet-Popper hypothesis, which was given by Paul Ehrlich. This says that within a species, so what is the Rivet-Popper hypothesis? It says that if people go up on a flight, right, and one individual takes off one rivet or one screw from the flight, nothing major is going to happen to the flight, to the aeroplane. The flight will be smooth and the aeroplane will be fine. But if this continues over a period of time such that individuals going up are constantly taking off screws from the aeroplane, there will come a time when the aeroplane is going to collapse. Similarly, within a species, within an ecosystem, species diversity is important because every species has a contributing role to play. If you remove one, maybe apparently there will be no big change to the ecosystem, but gradually, if one after the other, you keep removing one species, the diversity will fall, and as a result, the ecosystem will collapse. Okay. Moving on to the third level, which is the ecosystem diversity. So diversity within an ecosystem. There are of three types. Alpha, which is the within community. So inside a community, what is the diversity, right? So for example, if I had to take an example of within a society, if I consider a society to be a community, does the society only allow Marathis to live? Or are there Marathis, Tamilians, Gujaratis, Bengalis, all living together and there is no discrimination? So the more the different kinds of people live together, the higher the diversity. Similarly, within a community, so like within a community, do we have only plants and animals, humans, or do we have humans, dogs, cats, plants and other organisms as well? Then it becomes a higher diversity, so that's alpha or local diversity. Now beta is inter-community diversity, so diversity between two communities. So the niche, the micro-habitats come into question. So what kind of micro-habitats are present within that ecosystem? What kind of niche are present within that ecosystem will tell you about its inter-community diversity or beta diversity. And gamma diversity is habitat diversity. So if you look at one geographical region, how much of varied habitats or ecosystems can be present within that particular geographical region tells us your gamma diversity. So gamma diversity for India is extremely high because India as a subcontinent has all kinds of possible, we have tropical, subtropical, all kinds of possible habitats and therefore all possible ecosystems, and therefore because we have high ecosystem gamma diversity, we have high beta, alpha diversity, hence high species diversity and high genetic diversity. So they are all related. I hope this much was clear. We will continue in the next video. Thank you.